So somebody calls you up and they say, bro, I got a couple of huge shoulder mounts I want to give you. You're going to give me some shoulder mounts? How big are they? They're pretty dang big. 145, 135, something like that. Big deal. Okay, what's going on? I'm moving. I don't have room for them. Somebody needs to take them. Who's going to take care of them? So you want them or not? So the question is, do you take them or do you not? And where is it appropriate to put some strangers' whitetail mounts in your house? Drop a comment down below, let me know what's standard procedure here. Garage, spare room, office, something like that. Right up there with the rest of them, strangers' deer. The other question is, do you accept this offer? Because I absolutely did it without hesitation, and it's kind of how we ended up with this video. So now that you got the backstory, I took in two really nice whitetail mounts. Absolutely love them. I'm not turning down mounts. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not turning down beautiful shoulder mounts. I don't care if they're mine or not, but that's just me. So the quick backstory on both of these bucks is these are actually Kansas bucks from a private property in Kansas, obviously. And this big one was actually a really cool story. Ground, spot and stock with a bow. He was actually able to nail this buck. So hearing those stories was really cool. These mounts that came into the house, pretty bad shape. Super nice deer, and I wanted to clean these things up. My first goal was to clean these things up, restore them, make them beautiful, do a couple of little minor maintenance, and it actually went way better than I thought. I absolutely love taxidermy. This was a chance for me to not worry about screw something up that's not mine. So what I did was I reached out to the local taxidermist who I trust, been in business a really long time, just asked for some general tips, clean up, maintenance, general stuff. And he kind of gave me the basic three. He gave me pledge, Windex, kind of about it. He said you could use that all over, but I wanted to take it a step further because this mount had some flaws and some damage, and I was super excited to kind of take this on and see what we could accomplish. So we're going to cover a couple of things today. We're going to cover hair, eyes, nose, and antlers. And I'm going to share with you what kind of worked and what worked awesome. So before we get into the actual details, I just let you know the little kit that I had put together. And so what I had was I had lemon pledge, I had Windex, I had Rust-Oleum high gloss clear coat, but it was in a spray form. That's all I had, but I sprayed it on a plate, went ahead and went with that. I had polyurethane / stain, ebony stain that is actually really going to come into play in a few of the details coming up. I had some Q-tips, some paint brushes, plate, and I had knife, screwdrivers, just for some hopefully molding that I'm not going to screw it up. So that kind of sets everything up. For starters, let's talk about the hair. So when I got these mounts, they were absolutely covered in dust bunnies. There was a lot of matted spots in them. The hair was kind of roughed up and it was real patchy, kind of just sticking straight out in the air like you just woke up in the morning. My first goal was to try to fix that and address that. So I took it outside, blew off all the dust from the hair, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the antlers, just kind of a general once over. He recommended actually pledge wipes, and I couldn't find any wipes, so I got just some lemon pledge spray and used a nice rag, brush it out, and I'd wipe it and be generous with the amount of pledge. But one tip that I did for those stubborn little rough spots, like little cowlicks, not down by the chest, that's supposed to be there, but the little cowlicks up in the chest area, upper chest and on the back, you kind of scratch them out with the rag from side to side, kind of side to side strokes, and then a straight down stroke. I guess it kind of gets that, deer hair is hollow, but it kind of gets it down in there and helps you lay it over real good. After a couple of strokes of that, these things were looking awesome. The pledge actually has a little bit of a polish in it, so smelling good, because they did have a little bit of a smell. The second thing I did was wanted to focus on the eyes, because the tear ducts on these mounts were not good. It's almost like he forgot to do them and he went back and just stabbed a hole in them with a butter knife, and the tear ducts were like straight up and down. It was very odd and I didn't like it. The duct area was just totally flat. It had good color, but it was flat. So I wanted to see if I could try to create additional tear duct, put some color, put some poly in there, make those eyes nice and wet, because it just gives it that real live feel. So the first thing I did was try to carve out the tear duct all the way, at least close to the corner of the eye. Now this is not ideal because what I am doing is damaging the skin, and it's okay to mend the form, but I'm actually puncturing the skin, so I don't have anything to tuck. I just took that on anyway. But the best thing that worked is I took a utility knife and I just cut the slit to the corner of the eye really shallow, and then I took a screwdriver and kind of folded it in on itself, and then I actually had to get a little bit of stain. I'm gonna talk about that stain in a minute, and try to fill that crack. It wasn't ideal up close, like super close, but it actually looked really good from a distance. So also what I did was I took some Windex, took some Q-tips, and cleaned the eyes, cleaned the eyelashes, brushed them off real good. I put a little bit of that clear coat on a paper plate, and I took a tiny paintbrush and actually brushed in that clear coat around the eyes. I don't know if it's going to damage it long term, but let me tell you, those things are looking absolutely perfect. That thing just popped and came alive. And I did kind of 2 coats, so after one dried, I kind of went back and brushed over it, brushed it in the tear duct real good to try to hide some of that flaws that I created. Brushed around the eye all the way back to the corner. Just looks super wet and is just awesome. Really lifelike. I was really glad how that turned out. Like I said, I did have to take a tiny bit of that stain and try to film in, because you actually see the white, that cream color of the form coming through the eye a little bit, but it actually worked out pretty good. Third was the antlers, of course. They were pretty straightforward. These were pretty dingy and dusty, so I just wiped them off with the Windex like he mentioned, but once it dried, I didn't really get that polish effect. They're very clean, worked great. So, but I went back with the Pledge actually, and I wiped them up, and it made them look dark, really brought out the burrs, brought out those bases, brought out that deep color, really made it pop. And it also helped me notice that there's actually like some petrified bark around the burrs of the antler from where this buck was rubbing, I don't know how many years ago, rubbing a tree up in Kansas, and he's still carrying it around. And then I didn't want to chip it out. I wanted to leave it there because I thought that was pretty awesome. So the antlers really came to life after that. That was pretty simple and straightforward. It worked great. And last but not least, my favorite part of the whole project was doing the nose. So what I did, the noses were really faded and they were kind of cracked. So I was really going back and forth on what to do. I had got recommendations for shoe polish, and it just looked too dark, too black for what I picture, you know, a flesh toned whitetail nose to be. So I actually just went and looked around and actually found that Rust-Oleum stain polyurethane combination ebony color, and it just looks perfect. When I started painting this nose, that thing absolutely came alive with the polyurethane mixed in it and the stain. It was just a perfect combination for a single application. One tip I would say is to be generous with the first one, because you don't want to do it twice because it kind of gets tacky. You don't want to sit there and wait. So I was real sort of hesitant at first, but once I realized what was going on, I went ahead and was generous with it, covered it once, and it worked great. And the second one I got it right, and it was absolutely beautiful, perfect color. You almost couldn't tell at first because the color matched so perfect. But once it dried, it really came out with that moist, wet nose, and all of the dimples on the nose were in pretty good shape. So that actually came out awesome. Put a little bit around the brim of the nose, colored in some of those faded spots, and they absolutely came alive. And it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I actually got so excited about doing this project. I don't know how much before and after I got, but I think I did okay, and I got some cell phone pictures as well. So I'll try to throw those out there in here wherever I can, because I just thought it was awesome. Now I got to figure out where to put these things. But this was a total DIY. The only thing that I went and bought was the stain. Everything else I had here at the house, and I actually sent the pictures to the taxidermist, and he said, looks pretty great. And you know, he didn't give me any tips as far as doing the detail work, but I can't screw this up. They're not even my mounts, so that gave me the confidence to go ahead and risk it. But this was an awesome at-home project for restoring some mounts in minor detail way. It really brought these bucks back to life, which was just super cool. Don't be afraid to pull your bucks off the wall and do some minor repairs, bring them back to life, because once I stuck them back up, they looked awesome. So now back to the original question: are you taking in these deer, and where are you going to put them? Well, where are you justified to put them? You know, you want to put them in the main den or something where everybody that walks in goes, man, what's the story on that one? And you're going to tell them somebody else's story. I know the stories on these deer because I wanted to know the stories. That way I could pass it on. So I'm very happy to have these deer, very privileged. I love them. I want to keep them forever. And it just doesn't bother me. So that's just me. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know about some at-home tips for repairing, restoring these deer that you've done before, because I am all open. I love taxidermy. I wish I could go back and learn it full time, maybe one day. But for now, thank you guys for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, just do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, because as I've said before, I will love you. All right, I'm out.